Would you mind introducing yourself? Please tell us your name and where you're from and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Janelle. From Long Island, New York, East Coast all the way. And I am currently a UI UX designer, but I do a little bit of UI art and some UI programming as well. Yeah, that's all I do.
That's right. And whereabouts in New York do you stay?
I'm currently in Suffolk County, um, Deer Park, which is like the middle of Long Island, is
Okay.
a little bit east from the five boroughs. So New York City, I love it. After getting a chance to like be there for college and everything, and it's beautiful. Like every borough has its thing. Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island, Bronx,
Hmm.
Queens, completely different worlds when you step
Really?
into them. Yeah, the art is amazing. Music, culture in New York City is great. Food is great. So
Hmm.
definitely visit the city.
Hmm.
Highly recommend it.
Cool. So what have you been playing lately?
Currently, I'm playing Pokemon Diamond, which I've been procrastinating a little bit. So I've been trying to like get back into it whenever I can. Also playing like Bioshock, my second run through. Yeah,
That's cool.
it's one of my favorite like series, so I love it. So getting back into it when I saw it like on sale on the Switch store, I was like definitely have to play it. So yeah, like that. I also started Dishonored a little while
Hmm.
ago.
Okay.
So
So you like that style?
yeah, I definitely been playing a lot of like third person action games, but getting back into like the first person action games is like it's different. It just feels like this feels like different playing
Hmm.
through it. The two biggest things that were like in my life was music and art. Um, and also like video games in my free time. So like when I got to like sophomore junior year and really thinking about what I wanted to do, it was either music or video games. And so I was like kind of torn between the two. So I had to like think about which one I wanted to do more of and kind of like understand more of. And I kind of just like started drifting more towards wanting to pursue games mostly. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if you just did your own research or if you got some kind of guidance during high school on which way to go, like which school to go to.
It was mostly just me. We definitely had like college fairs at my high school, so like people coming in. So I got to see like NYIT, which is like the New York Institute of Technology, and some like technology-based schools. But I didn't really understand like what direction I wanted to go. So I was just like, okay, games in like colleges, like what colleges have like game programs, and USC was one of them. NYU was definitely another one. It's like a bunch of like different other like art schools across the country, and so I was just like applying and just seeing like which one like stuck with me the most, and I that's how I got to like NYU um, because like the game design program is like a multidisciplinary type like setup, so you learn like everything. And so I thought that was like pretty cool, like looking into it, like okay, I can learn coding, I can learn 3D modeling, level design, and all of
Hmm.
this. And so like basically make like my own games, and it was also closer. So I was like, okay, I could just be an hour away from home and come back, every other weekend. So yeah, that's how I ended up at NYU. I was really surprised when I got that send letter. I was like, wow, I didn't actually think I would get here, and I was like, kind of had to take it. So
Why didn't you
yeah,
think you were gonna get in there?
I was like my GPA
Hmm.
was like okay, like 3.7, but like it wasn't what NYU usually took. I was just like, these GPAs are high. These SAT scores are like way above what I can do. So I was just like, can I really get in?
Yeah.
Um, is looking at the competition, and it's like, and it's an in-state school, so it's like a lot of people apply,
Hmm.
and the art school is also very competitive. So I was like, I'm competing with a lot of people, Sorry about that.
It's all good. Is a program pretty big?
It's really small. The game design program, I believe it started back in 2007, 2008. So it's fairly
Oh,
new.
oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. But there is one person that graduated that actually worked on God of War, and he's like a combat designer that
Mm,
graduated from the game design program. So there's a lot. There's been a lot of people that have gone on to work at like Sony, Naughty Dog, and stuff like that, Rockstar. But it's still a fairly new program, so um, it's still like changing. It's still like adding more to like the curriculum and like the structure, but it's still a fairly new program. So it's very small. I would definitely say yeah, because something about the game design program at NYU that I think is like really cool is the fact that it's very hands-on. So you do your own like personal projects, but like doing small independent group projects is very encouraged. So you get the opportunity to work in a lot of different groups and kind of like wear different hats, if you will. So like doing a little bit of everything. So I got a chance to like build different skills and understanding game design and mechanics and visual design, narrative design, level design. And so after taking a couple of courses in representation in games, which is one of my favorite courses, and UI UX for games course, I felt a lot more prepared because it was easier to kind of just like design UI and understand concepts of like accessibility and how to have those options um, and how to apply them to game mechanics and just like game design. So I definitely think it has helped a lot. And like leading me to my first gig, which was I had started the beginning of my last semester as like a contract role, and they were looking for a UI UX designer, and the game is very much inspired by like Skyrim, and like The Witcher, which is all I can say for now.
Yeah, that's
But
cool.
like with like those like that style genre, and so being able to get to that point and like learn UI UX design principles and game design, I felt more prepared working with a bigger team and working with other UI designers and programmers. And I also started working with an independent team for a third person action game. So we're for it was a capstone project that we were doing, and so getting that experience and it's like working on a more complex game. So I would definitely say it has helped a lot.
A game design program at a college or university versus being self-taught. I mean, everyone's path is really different, but I think it's always interesting to hear how much it actually did prepare you when you did jump into games. So I think that's really good to hear. Coming out of NYU, like you knew
Mm.
that you were going to do UX UI like right away.
Yeah, definitely. I started doing UX UI 2 years into the program, um,
Oh,
and
okay.
it kind of
You did it
stuck with
early.
me.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, it was like small projects. After taking a UX UI for games course and representation in games, so it kind of just like learning about accessibility and representation. Kind of, it just felt like right, and it motivated me more to
Okay.
just focus on UX UI. But um, going into like senior year, I was taking on more UX UI projects and kind of like honing in my skills and working more with game engines, and so um, it just seemed more fitting once I got to my last semester and I got my first role.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, college is like, sometimes it just takes a while for people to figure things out. So some people figure it out
Mm.
like right away, or if it's like towards the end, they're like, all right, I'm going to stick with this. But that's cool. You knew fairly early on what you were going to do. which is dope.
It took a lot of yeah, it took a lot of like failing, honestly. Like I wanted to be a software engineer for a little bit, so I kind of minored in computer science and math, and I got an F in data structures, and that
And
sucked.
that was a wrap. That was a wrap.
I wound up retaking the course and got a D, and I was like, yeah, that was a wrap. I was like, you know what, I'm done. Yeah, but I'm glad I kind of took that step. Like it was like devastating in the moment, but looking back, I'm like, at least I tried something new, and it kind of
Yes.
like
Yeah.
led me here.
No, that's
But
great. Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, taking that minor. I tried programming like C++, I think, in
mm,
call. Yeah, I tried it as a minor and it was the same for me, but I didn't go that far. I went to like it was like the first week of class and I was staring at the computer and they were asking to do like this simple exercise and I was just clueless. I ended up telling the advisor, I was like, yeah, I can't do this. This is way too complicated for me. And it doesn't feel right. So I dipped. So pretty much after NYU, how were you able to get this job at your current studio right now? It's Epoch Games, right?
mm. I actually was able to start it like sometime during my last semester, so during my senior year. But it was more like a volunteer role, and then
Oh,
it kind of
okay.
became like contract. Um, but it started off as a volunteer role, and like they were looking for like entry level, and so I was able to take it because I had the free time and I wanted like more experience. And even though it was like a volunteer role, um, I was willing to kind of like participate and like join in. So, but I'm still doing it now. Um, I'm still part of the team.
How big is that team that you're working with right now at Epoch?
I would say around 100, maybe
Oh, for
one.
real? Damn.
Yeah, I think it's a little over 100. Yeah, it's mostly the U.S., but we do have people in Europe and Asia as well. Yeah.
Okay. That's dope. So are you guys developing their first IP or do they have other games under their belt too?
It's the first game.
Oh, that's exciting. That's cool. How's that experience going for you, like building that game? Talk about.
It's been pretty interesting, I would say, because they've been working on this project since before I joined the team, and I usually join. I'm so used to joining a project like right at the beginning, um, and so I had to kind of like adapt and kind of like jump into things like quickly, understanding exactly what has been done with the UX, like the UI system and like the art style of the UI, and understand what's needed. So I'm currently doing like some stuff in Unreal Engine. Um, I haven't touched Unreal Engine prior to that moment, so I had to
Really?
like kind of like, yeah, like it, like I use primarily like Unity, but they were like, if you're willing to learn as you go along, since you already have experience with the game engine and some art experience, I was like, they were like, are you willing to learn and kind of like go into it? So I had to like kind of learn how to use the blueprint system, doing skyboxes, which is very hard. I've never done a skybox before, but it's definitely been rewarding, I would say. Like being able to learn new skills, learning a new engine such as Unreal, which is kind of like the industry standard right now. Like a lot of like studios use engines similar to Unreal, so it's been like a great experience. Learning new skills, learning from other people, collaborating with a bunch of different people, professionals. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed it.
So, what's a skybox?
So a skybox is like when you are playing like a first person or like third person game, 3D, and you kind of look up in the sky, like you have like the whole like space or the sky on like and so a lot of people what they do is that they design specifically like how the sky should look like. So if you're doing like a space scene, and you have like constellations, for example, you're gonna like draw, like put together like an image of the skybox, the constellations, and everything. Make it into like I believe it's like an HDRI file, and then put that into the game engine, and then you have the sky, like when you look up, and then there's the constellations, and then there's like the space setting. So yeah, that's the skybox.
Okay. That's right. I'm learning new things. That's what's up. How was that? How was the onboarding? Like when you came on, you said, you had to learn Unreal, and you never used Unreal before. Was there anything else too that you had to like pick up on pretty quickly? Just how was that experience for you, onboarding wise?
It was definitely a little like nerve wracking at first, um, mostly because like I haven't used Unreal, and Unreal is very complex when you look at it at first. Um, but they were mostly looking for someone who could do like design UI assets, so like mimic the visual design style of like visual designers, and
Hmm.
kind of just like help out and collaborate with programmers implement a lot of the UI systems, mostly menus and stuff like
I
that in the
see.
HUD.
Hmm.
So a lot of it was started off as like a lot of art, so I didn't really need to do a lot of Unreal, but he was like my current boss is primarily like you may need to do more of that like later on as we kind of like pick up. So um, but I was like willing to do that already, and I was already like the other project I'm currently working on, Ember Point, the student project that's
Hmm.
in Unreal Engine. So I was already working um, with the team to implement the UI and like in the engine already. So it was like I was already kind of understanding how to do that, but never actually had like that hands-on experience. I think because a lot of times like industry standards will change. I remember when I first started UX UI design, which was I think it was junior year, so like 2021 ish,
Hmm.
early 2021. And when we were learning UI UX design, it was primarily like using like Adobe XD for like wireframing and stuff like that. Um, we had used Maya for some other like 3D projects in the past. Primarily Unity for like implementing like and developing games, but I think like as I got into like approaching senior year, so like my last semester, of course now instead of XD, Figma is a industry standard for wireframing, and I was like, okay, gotta learn Figma and understand like how that works. So I was doing that, like learning as I go,
Hmm.
which is usually how I try to learn new tools. It's just like having a project that I want to do and learning the system. So like following tutorials and like seeing how I can apply that to what I'm currently trying to do. So learning Figma was like one of the tools I was learning. Um, Unreal Engine, of course, which was definitely more time consuming. I'm still learning a lot of Blueprint visual scripting, which is like the drag and drop um, like thing that you can do for like UI, which is pretty cool.
Is
But
that what Blueprint is?
yeah,
Oh,
so it's a lot. It's like it's visual scripting, so it has like the same stuff as like hard code. So like on hover button, on click and stuff like that. Um, like
you
input.
could map
So
everything out, right?
yeah, so you
Okay,
just
I
like
got you.
drag it. Yeah, it's a. I personally am more used to coding, but like Blueprint definitely is a helpful tool, and there's a lot that you can do with it. Um, and so learning that, I'm hoping to learn C++ and get more into hard coding in Unreal, but take it one step at a time. Um, yeah, those are the two primary tools I've been like learning at the moment.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, definitely continue to beef up your coding skills. I'm learning that
Mhm.
roles. Oh, well, at least I'm learning at PlayStation. A lot of those roles now ask for, people with technical experience. You know,
Mhm.
over not over art, but having at least a little bit of technical experience on top of being a great artist is also can also help you, especially when you're
Mhm.
coming into AAA. What have been some of the challenges for you, just working like where you're at? Not like I'm not talking about like I'm just talking about any kind of challenges that you've gone through, either with projects or anything else like working in games.
I would say, um, like creative blocks are definitely the hardest thing to deal with because at this point, I'm still looking for like a full time like role, and so I'm trying to do more to like add to my portfolio to brush up on my skills and um, just to, like better my skills. And I've been trying to do at least two personal projects every month, and like doing different things that I want to do as far as UI UX. And there are times where I'm just like, I have no idea what I want to do next, and so I'm just like stuck.
Yeah.
And it's like I know I have like so much time, and it's okay if I don't make it to like two projects in that 1 month. But at the same time, it's like this kind of sucks because it's like I don't know what
Hmm.
else to do with my time besides designing. So I kind of try to. I've been trying to like take inspiration from like other places as well. So like playing games a little bit, um, doing a little bit more reading that I haven't been able to do for like years. So
Hmm.
getting back into that.
That's good.
Um, yeah. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges so far. Um, and I say another challenge would definitely be understanding exactly where I want to be as far as like a role. Um, because UX UI is still like a very broad like job. So you have like UI
Yep.
artists, you have
Hmm.
designers, and you have programmers. And I can do a little bit of like a lot of like different things, but at the same time, it's just like it's better to have to be like more disciplined in like one or two areas. So I've been um, definitely trying to like develop my skills, but also trying to see what fits more underneath that very broad umbrella. And yeah, that would definitely be like my two biggest challenges right now.
I think we're all, as we're learning like new stuff, I think we're all, and we're trying to come up in our careers and stuff, we all try to, it's a natural thing for us to want to know what we be doing so that we could just focus on that one thing. But just like what you said, you have to remind yourself that you have time to figure things out. So, like, there's no rush for you. Like, you'll eventually figure it out later. It's going to be really exciting to see because you're already like your portfolio and stuff looks really good. And you're continuing to add to your portfolio too, even if it's like little projects and stuff. I've noticed like on LinkedIn or on your website, like you continue to update and post like new stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think with a lot of young designers, like what I've seen with people on my own team, fellow peers, there's a lot of pressure because it's so hard finding positions, especially when you look at the amount of layoffs that are going on, the
Yeah.
lack of entry level positions,
Hmm.
and a lot of like entry or junior level positions still asking for like 3 years experience for like one shift game. It's like it becomes a lot, and so a lot of us kind of feel like we have to be on the same level as people who have been designing and putting together projects for like 10 years, which is impossible.
That's too much pressure.
Um, it's too much pressure. Like I've known some people that started off like when they were in high school, and some people start off really early. Um, but it's also okay. I found to like find yourself like later on. Like when I started, I never touched a line of code, never knew animation, never knew 3D modeling and stuff like that. Like I started off not knowing anything. So
Hmm.
like to get to this point, definitely a lot of falls, definitely a lot of like regrets at points where I'm just like, should I be here? Should I do something else? And then trying to find that motivation. So it, it's definitely good to hear, like, um, from other people. It's just like, you're doing great. Like, your work is good. It's like, it's nice to hear that, especially like when you're applying everywhere, um, and like not getting forward. But it's just, you gotta keep going, honestly, and just see what works.
To be honest with you, that those thoughts are just, they're never gonna go away. I don't know if I should be doing this. I don't know if I'm succeeding. I don't know, can I get any better at this? Am I gonna land at a AAA studio? Like all those questions are gonna come all the time as you continue to grow. But I would just tell you to stick with it for sure. A big part of why a more diverse games exist is because I want to encourage all you guys to continue grinding. And I feel like even saying that could help you guys, charge you guys up to keep going. So that's really a big part of why I have more diverse games right now.
Like I see the work that you do on LinkedIn, talking to students and people who are trying to get into the industry, like right out of college, and it's great. I think for them to have that support, especially from someone like you who has, kind of like try to build yourself up and get into a place like Sony. Sony's cool. A lot of people want to work for Sony. Like be at PlayStation. Like, come on. I mean, like it's nice to have that support, and thank you, of course. You know, I mean, understanding my core values, especially this early, sometimes it feels like I ask for too much when I ask about diversity and like in interviews, because it's just like, is this going to ruin my chances, of like getting a job if I ask about diversity and stuff? But I think, you know, if we're going into this industry, especially for like potentially like the rest of our lives, like I think being comfortable with asking about diversity and knowing our core values, is great to have or start to learn, because it's hard out here. It's
Hmm.
really hard out here.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking in interviews about diversity. I think it's a great question. You should never hold back on that question. Doesn't matter how big or small it is. If that's something that we all want to feel comfortable being at our place of work, especially if it's going to be a full-time gig. You're going to be working with people 40 hours plus a week. Like you want to be comfortable around all those people. So I mean, I think it's totally fine to ask that. I wouldn't stop asking that question.
Because like I said, at the end of the day, like a job is a commitment, and so no
Hmm.
one wants to commit to something like 6 months to a year and be in a position where diversity is not like a priority in that workplace, or you're working with some iffy people. Like it's
Exactly. Yeah, it's true.
like
It's facts.
it's it definitely is something. And I was just like telling you this like earlier, how like I've been working with like an outsourced like recruiting like company, and
Hmm.
they're based in Nashville, and they've been so much help. And recently, I was like talking to one of the recruiters about a position, and I was too junior for the position, didn't have enough experience,
Hmm.
but they were telling me more about the role and the the studio, and how it's an RPG that takes place in like Harlem, and
Well, that's dope.
there's like a hip hop like soundtrack to it, and I was like, that's so cool. And like the president is a woman. Like, come on, like yeah, like you don't hear that. Like it's so that was so cool to me, and I was just like, well, do they do patricians? Like, Can I,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like
Something,
I
just
want to know
something
more.
there.
Like, and I'm glad I brought up diversity because she was asking me like, what's the must, and I was like, diversity, inclusion, and
Hmm.
she was like, like they are for diversity, and so, just putting that out there, and like it helps. It honestly does.
It does, yeah. It does help continue that conversation, especially in those interviews. And I would definitely
Mhm.
recommend that you stay in touch with that person. Hit her up every now and then just to see how things are going, see if
Mhm.
they have anything that would fit your experience and your skill sets, because you never know. You know.
Mhm. Absolutely. Besides UI peeps, which is like, you know, Discord community, I am a part of this another Discord community, where it's not UI UX specific. It's more like game design. So it's like you have a lot of like people who are developers, combat designers, game designers, level designers, stuff like that. Um, and let me see if I get the actual name, but like it's open to there's a lot of students, like college students, recent graduates, people that work at Blizzard, and like a lot of different the design dev is what it's called.
The design.
And it's
Wait, what is it called? The design dev
the design den.
den. Got you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so yeah, there's a lot of people that work at so many different studios, AAA studios, and it's like really helpful because they do like portfolio review, resume review as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So so those are the only two um, like communities I'm currently a part of. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool.
yeah, absolutely. I've seen Stefan's work, like his portfolio, actually amazing. I was like, this is great work. It's crazy, like it's crazy, and seeing people with like that experience put together communities, I think is very helpful. I think like communities, especially in this industry, is very important, um, because you have a lot, so much great talent, that could be put together. You never know like what people could come together and put together their own like studio, their own game, their own personal projects, um, find inspiration. Like it's great to have like access to that, and I will definitely like be
Absolutely.
involved, um, because it's just about like doing new things. Honestly, especially at this point, like where I am after graduating, and so it's just taking all opportunities and kind of just like connecting more with people, which is something I wish I had learned a little bit more
Yeah.
during college. Like that's not really like encouraged as much.
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
we work in like small groups, but we are never really taught to like go out and like network and like talk to other people from like outside the university. So like doing that, like using LinkedIn and like being in communities, it definitely helps. So it's helped so much for me. Of
No doubt. Keep doing that too. Keep building on that.
course.
So my last question is, what advice would you give for someone who's thinking about going into UX UI design in games?
I would say like understand why UX UI excites you, and don't do it just because. Um, because I I've seen this like on LinkedIn, but what I've seen it was just like it's important to have like sympathy and like empathize with the user because that's what UX UI is.
Yep.
Um, it's about like empathizing with the user, putting yourself in their shoes, and like understanding them. Um, and so like if you're not sure like where to start and like why it interests you, I recommend like going into like any game that excites you and just like don't just play them, but take a moment to like look through the UI, like all UI. Like if you're passionate about accessibility, and including like players with disabilities, like take time to just look at main menus, because like now main menus are not what they were, and like older
They've
games,
evolved.
they've evolved. Like it's crazy. Like I a few weeks ago for like my current project Ember Point, I was looking through God of War 2008, like their main menu, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like it was a YouTube channel that did like a walkthrough, and it was a
Mm-hmm.
20-minute walkthrough of accessibility options, and it's just
Oh,
like I didn't know this many accessibility options like existed. So like this understanding like each option that's given to the player, understanding the purpose of those options, if you're like passionate about accessibility and understanding it, um, and yeah, just like looking through like that in games. Also, if you're like into a lot of like action games or like in world UI, if you like narrative building,
mm-hmm.
storytelling and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
understand how the UI works with the world, and um, like how it like fits in with the world building aspect. Um, some games for me is like Dead Space, one of my favorite games. Hollow Knight, LA Noir, Metro 2033. Like those are my favorite games with like amazing UI that just fits in with the world. But it's just being motivated. Like whenever you look at UI and games that excite you, like if you feel something like, oh, this looks so cool, I want to do something like that. Like then try to see like what you can do to like replicate that, or like do a project that can kind of replicate that, and just
Mm-hmm.
like understand what kind of design styles that those UI like um like those UI use. So
Mm-hmm.
just like constantly try to take inspiration to motivate you. I feel like when you are a creative person, you start to see problems everywhere in your field. Like
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
driving a car that you drive it every day, like, and you're a creative person, especially with a Tesla that has like that screen there, like of course you're gonna be like, man, there's like so much wrong with like this user interface, like this could be changed, that could be changed. And I think it's like a good thing to always like have that
Mm-hmm.
going.
Yeah.
um there are times where it's like I can't shut it off. Like I
There's
can't
nothing
look.
wrong with that's good.
Oh yeah, I mean,
When you can't shut it off, do you have a notepad or do you keep note of it somewhere?
I've been keeping notes. Like I have like the notes app. I was just like, okay, like this. Whenever I play games, especially, I'm like, that's really cool. Like I like
That's
how they
dope.
did that. I don't like how they did that. How could that be
Mm-hmm.
changed?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think that's like a great thing at times, because usually I have a bad habit of just like sitting down trying to force myself to like
Yeah.
be creative.
Yeah.
That doesn't do anything, you know.
I encourage anyone who's interested in UX UI, in games, to visit Ginele's website, check out the LinkedIn, make a connection, ask her any questions. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a wrap. I appreciate you, Ginele.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.